Yes, many thanks to the young girl and her journey on Mini Husseinis. We are now part of the show where we're looking into the jurisprudential context for Muharram and Safar. In the previous episodes, we have discussed a lot of controversial, variety of topics, some controversial topics as well. Today, we're going to be focusing on what's called associating and disassociating yourselves from the, disassociating yourself from the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt and associating yourselves with the Ahlul Bayt, but from a Muharram perspective. And myself and Zahra are welcoming Sayyid Mohsin Shah on the show. As ever, we're going through the jurisprudence with yourself. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How's everything? All well?
I'm very well. How are you two?
Good.
Fine, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Good.
So we have a question
from
a brother in Madrid. He says, Dear Sayyid, the oppressors and the killers of the Ahlul Bayt are sometimes loved by other sects in Islam. In Muharram especially, we learn and discuss these personalities. Many Shias see this as an opportunity to curse on these personalities. To what extent should the Shias do Lana and Tabara? So if you could explain really what is cursing and what is Tabara, just for the purpose of our viewers.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The difference between La'an and Tabarra, La'an is when it's like a dua where you say, Ya Allah, please remove your mercy from this person. That's La'an.
Which is an annihilation, isn't it? Without the mercy of Allah, what do we have?
I mean, some people may feel that, oh, this is not really much of a curse or an insult, or why would someone say such a thing? But then it's like when you say La'an on someone, Allah remove your mercy, it's not just His mercy, but it's like His whole support and His whole His risk that He gives you and His sustenance that He gives you. Like, take that all away and just abandon this person. Now imagine being abandoned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a very, very severe, tragic instance. Exactly. So this is what we mean by when we say La'an. People would argue that, oh, is this really part of the faith? Oh, this is quite severe. At the end of the day, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to Shaitan. He sent La'an on Shaitan. And all Muslims all over the world send La'an on Shaitan. This is part of our faith. And it's actually mustahab to send La'an. So there's no, grey area here that is it accepted, is it not accepted? No, it's definitely accepted. And Tabarra or Bara'a is to disassociate yourself from something. And we, as Shia Muslims, we always associate ourselves with good and with the Ahlul Bayt and disassociate from their enemies. And those people who had, their own evil agendas towards the Ahlul Bayt and towards Islam, and that even though they may have risen through the ranks and they may have had, you could say, a mask on their face and they assumed to be in a position where they were helping Islam, but really in fact didn't, we disassociate ourselves with those people and their practices.
So how do we relate then La'na and Tabarra to Muharram? Because that's what the question is, I guess. In Muharram especially, we learn and discuss these personalities.
The best a'mal, they say on Ashura, is to send La'an on the killers of Abu Abdullah.
Similarly, for example, similarly to Ramadan, one of the best acts actually on the night of Qadr, which is one of the best nights in the year, is to send your curses, should we say in English, to Ibn Muljim, who the killer of Imam Ali, and that's part of a whole ritual of recommended acts. So in Muharram it's also the same.
Indeed, on Ashura we are recommended to non-stop do the dhikr, Allahumma an qatlat al-Hussein wa awladihi wa ashabihi, non-stop. They say 1,000 times if you can in the day. So throughout the whole day, from Fajr all the way to Maghrib, people keep reciting this dhikr, and there's great thawab in it. Now, people may say this is a bit extreme, or this is, we condemn those people for what they've done, but why are you sending La'an? No, the La'an was there and was introduced by our Ahlul Bayt. They taught us how to do La'an. And the La'an was there, and it's a practice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and this cuts off like our connection with anything that is to do with something which is against haqq, that we want to remove ourselves away from what is batil, what is falsehood, what is against righteousness and what is against justice. We want to remove ourselves from injustice and oppression. and those people who represent that.
I think that's the critical point, isn't it? That what a lot of people from other sects don't understand is that it's not Imam Hussein per se that we are looking towards and saying that it's his, he was a continuation of his grandfather's message.
Indeed.
And what people almost do is they differentiate the personalities of Ahlul Bayt from the Prophet and say, no, you overemphasize the position of Ahlul Bayt. But in fact, what the Shia say is that they are a continuation of the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So how can you, one body and the limbs are no different. So, so by removing the mercy from the killers of Imam Hussein, it's the message of Islam, isn't it, that we're actually protecting?
Indeed, it's the message of Islam that we're protecting, and also it is that we look for that day, that final day, where we are in, the day of judgment and in our akhirah, and that we are turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our final destination, with the position where it really matters on that day in that realm. Please do not do not give these people the mercy, do not give these people any form of shafa'ah, abandon them, for they truly don't deserve it for what they have done. There was nothing but pure hate and anger and jealousy and just evil in their heart, that there's no evidence or no reason for them to commit them crimes other than pure evil and hatred towards their their Imam and towards Islam.
And those actions have continued to today, haven't they? The disunity we do have within the sects, and it's not the repercussions are going to be felt throughout time. So it's not something that their actions.
I would like.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I would say from a fiqh point of from a perspective, His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shah was asked about tabarra and la'an, and he said that this is a very, very mustahab act, and he also says that it is allowed to be done in public. Which is very, very different and controversial to some other maraja who may have a different opinion.
Sure.
Now, the reason Sayyid Sadiq says that it is allowed in public is because he says that in the Quran, if you go to the surah Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Tabat yada Abi Lahabi wa Tab, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending la'an and cursing Abu Lahab. This is in the Quran by name, and the Quran is available to the public.
Right.
This is his istidlal, and this is what he says, that this is why it is allowed to be done in public,
but
by name.
But isn't, for example, Abu Lahab unanimously agreed within that community to be a bad person? Therefore, Allah and the Prophet.
Definitely, we have the likes of Abu Lahab.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is to bring it to this day and age, the people that we do la'na on, for the majority of Muslims, these people are revered. So how is that similar?
So we have the likes of Abu Lahab, also Abu Jahil, and Umayyah. These people are unanimously cursed upon. Now the thing comes with, what about mentioning people who are revered as high in other schools of thought? Sayyid Sadiq hasn't given a condemnation or a condonation towards this act. He hasn't mentioned anything to say, yes, you should do it, and no, don't refrain from it. He's just said, this is the rule. But from his own actions, you can see he never meant that does such a thing.
Right. So
he
doesn't stay away from it.
He doesn't say. His ruling, which he deems to be the ruling of Islam, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, is that it is permissible. Whether you should do it or not, looking at the surroundings, looking at the people you're around, especially if your life will be put into danger, these things do need to be taken into account and will have an effect on the ruling itself.
Yeah, because I think that where Islam is a religion of tolerance, respect, I guess. So to what extent should we then practice la'na or tabarra as a whole from the? I think if it infringes on the.
It is very important that number one, la'na is mustahab. Secondly, la'na and tabarra needs to be there so we ourselves recognize the evils, the oppression, and the injustice by the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt. Otherwise, God forbid, there will be some sort of shift in our aqaid, where God forbid, we have Shia children that have the names of those who are not revered highly in the Shia community, and a sense of we are forgetting those who oppressed Fatima Zahra.
I think that's the main issue.
The main, very, very important. And also we must think to ourselves that on the Day of Judgment, Where will we stand when Sayyidah Fatima comes to us and said, okay, so you didn't curse these people who did this to me? You know, you stood with them and you wanted to unite with those who did this to me? I
think it's very important, like looking at how people interact, and particularly in the social media era where, you know, you're absolutely rightly saying that the respect, so there's one action that you do that, you know, obviously you outright in your heart saying, I do not want to follow the actions of these people that oppressed Ahlul Bayt. And then there's a verbal action, isn't there? And then that verbal could be you typing something and being a keyboard warrior. But it's always keep within those etiquettes, isn't it? So whereas you don't want to just be saying things, but in your heart you're doing absolutely everything that Ahlul Bayt have taught us not to do. So this, for instance, you know, you're going to be swearing at people saying, well, this is, you know, me justifying this action.
I do want to mention that the Ahlul Bayt do not promote insulting people and do not, you know, promote using bad language and foul language towards people. If you are going to debate or discuss, please keep it academic and keep, you know, a level of respect. But on the other hand as well, I want to mention is that you see the Sunni brothers and sisters, they say that Abu Talib was a kafir and they'll say that he will go to hell. They believe this. I don't see Shias jumping up and down and saying, oh, how dare you do this, how dare you do that. I don't see fights happening and arguments. You have an opinion, I have an opinion. It's okay. And in the Shia school of faith, there's discussions going on who Abu Talib really was. Some even go to the extent saying he was the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And there's hadith from Imam Sadiq in regards to this. So this is the level that we put Abu Talib at. And then on the other hand, it's the total opposite. But there's no fighting, there's no arguing, there's no how dare you this and that. It's very, very peaceful. It's very respectable. Okay, that's your opinion, which is the total opposite. That's fine to, you know, to your religion and to me my religion.
How important is it to say, you know, if people say Abu Talib's ending up in hell, well, you know, whoever's going to hell is God's decision. It's not yours, not mine, not anybody else's. So do we really, like you say, you know, sticks and stones won't hurt me? Someone's going to say that. How much should we really take to a person and say, actually, I'm going to fight this down with you because, you know, how dare you speak like that? Because at the end, you have that confidence, you have that knowledge that it's the last place he's going to end up.
I think it's a matter of like real insecurities, because from a Shia perspective, we know we can. There's a breadcrumb trail of everything that we believe in, and there's no hidden secrets here and there. There's no misconceptions. There's no discrepancies. Everything is black and white. We're clear, you know, in terms of how we got our religion today. I think with the other schools of thoughts, because there's a bit of discrepancies, there's a bit of contradictions here and there. There's always a bit of a question mark in the back of their minds, especially since they're not allowed to ask questions about what happened in history. And that is the main thing, because they're not allowed to ask questions, and they're really, you know, spoon-fed from a young age. This is what happened. This is what you've got to stick to. Then it becomes an issue of, well, no, we revere them so much, and we can't have anyone speak badly about them. As you were saying, I can just sit back and relax, knowing I'm very confident as to the history when it comes to Abu Talib, for example. But when it comes to them, it's a matter of insecurity. I think.
Is that definitely? I think so, and I think that when we send La'an, and if they were, you know, let's be honest with the Sunni brothers and sisters, they do get upset when we say La'an. And on the other hand, they do get upset when we don't do La'an because they know we're hiding something. They will live in, it's 2018, right? They have access to Shia books and Shia theology, and they know our stance when it comes to their revered figures. There's no need to, like, you know, beat around the bush or try and play happy families here. They know what it is, and to be honest, majority of them are more than happy to have a civil and liberal and accommodating relationship with you, where you could keep that in the, you know, at the back of the relationship. You don't even need to mention it and bring it to the forefront. Or if you want to have a discussion, you can have a very academic and respectable discussion on this topic. But that doesn't change our stance and how we revere them. And behind closed doors, they know exactly what's going on.
But it goes on with a lot of contemporary issues today as well. There's a lot of things that we are forced to say that we have to agree with, and actually personally we don't agree with them religiously. But it's okay to be respectful and sort of maintain your silence. But, you know, to have an academic conversation and not to allow emotions to run, that you are then jeopardizing any chances to learn from each other and actually sharing ideas. And again, your belief, know what you want to believe and knowing that's in your heart. And but I think that's the end of it. I don't know what the last comments.
I did kind of want to ask in terms of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam themselves and their stance. when it comes to tabarra.
There's I mean, they
just very top line.
Quickly, unfortunately, they lived in a time where Shias were persecuted at such a high level that they couldn't really even mention the names properly in Ziyarah Ashura. Ziyarah Ashura is the biggest evidence that we have to that you can say La'an and take names as well. But there is a section where it says Al-Awwal, Al-Thani, Al-Thalith. And there's a reason for that, and that was the political situation at the time. Now, there are arguments going on today that we don't live in a situation like that anymore, and maybe we can start to use names. Others may say, no, you use the name, and then things start happening abroad in other countries. So my advice to our Shia brothers is that please go towards your marja, ask what your marja says, to do what your marja says, look into the topic, realize the sensitivity around this topic. But behind closed doors and with your Shia gathering, please do not walk away from your aqa'id and your true beliefs, and always stay against the enemies of those who oppressed and were unjust towards the Ahlul Bayt.
Absolutely, thank you so much. Very interesting and knowledgeable conversation. And shall we see you next time? Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much for your time, Sayyid. I guess from a viewer perspective, we are going to be looking into sort of the jurisprudential aspects of Arba'een, since we're during that time now, and we have very much seen within the show some insights into Iraq and how the Arba'een period is now building up within Iraq and Karbala and Najaf. So we're going to be showing you more scenes on the next episodes. Of course, more poetry, more fiqh questions, more mini Husseinis as well. Thank you so much for your time, Sayyid.
Thank you for having me.
From myself and Zahra, once again, have a very blessed morning. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.